Alright, all I'm showing you today is how to solve linear inequalities and also how to deal with linear inequality worded problems. So for a new student, anything in blue is what I think you definitely need to write down because you get cheat sheets in this year level, okay? That's what would go onto your cheat sheet. And also the other stuff in blue, I show examples of how to answer the question. So the way this works, in black is just to help me explain. Blue is what's vital for your cheat sheet. And then the examples is I'm showing you how to do the thing that I want you to do. So how do I solve linear inequalities? It's almost exactly the same as solving the equations that I showed you last week. What is the only difference? If you swap the left-hand side and the right-hand side of the equation, the inequality, then you flip the inequality. So you had a question in your timeline that was like this. A is less than 2. If I put A on the other side, if I left the inequality pointing the same way, is that the same as before? No, I have to flip it around. That's what point 1 is about. The only mathematical difference is if you ever multiply or divide by a negative number, you also have to flip the sign. Why don't I have to worry about flipping the sign when it's an equal sign? Somebody explain to me? Yes?
It's not directional.
It's not pointing anywhere. One side is the same as the other, so I don't need to care about direction when it's an equation. When it's an inequality, it's pointing somewhere. So in an inequality, if I change the sides, I have to flip. The only mathematical rule is if you multiply or divide both sides by a negative number, you also flip the inequality. Okay? I'll give you a couple of minutes. I'll give you a minute. Get that? It's not that many words. Let's do an example. You're going to be just telling me stuff that you've already done last week. Example 1, if I want to solve for A, pretend it's an equal sign. Pretend it's exactly what I taught you last week. Ignore the fact that it's pointing somewhere. Just pretend it's equals. I need to do in reverse bedmass order, get A by itself, get rid of everything around. So what's the opposite of taking 4 from something? Adding 4. So my next step will be A, take 4, add 4. What I noticed is that you guys are getting better at, you don't need to do the block step, you're just doing that in your head. Good. You do it faster. 5 plus 4 to keep it balanced. So that's going to be A, pointing there, 5 plus 4 is? Did I times or divide by a negative number at all? Did I flip it at all? So can I just leave the inequality pointing the same way? So is that any different to what you did before? I can almost ignore the inequality. I just pretend it's an equal sign until later when you check, did I divide or times by a negative? This one? How do I get rid of timesing by 3? Divide by 3. So 3b on 3 less than or equal to 9. So b, 9 on 3. What's 9 divided by 3? 3. Did I divide by a negative number? No. So I keep it pointing the same way. Last one. There's probably a reason why I went down in the difficulty. Can I deal with the timesing by -2 first? Can I get rid of that first? No, because I must go in reverse bedmass order. So how do I get rid of +4? What's the opposite of adding 4 to something? Subtracting 4. So if I took 4 from both sides, would there be a 4 left here? There'd be nothing left there. So you'd be -2x. What's 0 take 4? -4. Now thinking. I need to get rid of the times by -2. What is the opposite of timesing by -2? divide by -2, divide by -2. However, you have a new rule here. If you multiply or divide both sides by a negative, is that what I'm doing right now?
Yep.
What do I need to do? Flip the inequality. So that's going to cancel. X is now going to be, well, it's pointing to the right, now it's pointing to the left. What's -4? What's a negative divided by a negative? Positive. So X is going to be less than 2. Right, get those examples down, please. Hopefully you believe me when I say that the stuff that I teach before levels up and you use it as stepping stones for later work. Really, the only new thing was here. I times or divided by a negative number, so I had to flip the inequality. Okay?